What is up, guys, and welcome to episode 11 of the Paper and Purpose podcast. I'm Ryan, and I absolutely hate the feeling of survival mode, the mode where you're living in a primal state of paycheck to paycheck, and I want to help people escape so they can live life to its full potential. This is the podcast where I gather the gems and nuggets about money who make it, manage it, and multiply it well to help people escape survival mode. And today's guest helps people print pesos like Escobar and tap into their highest level of fitness and energy. He's your mom's favorite gringo on the internet. I'm pleased to welcome Logan. Logan, welcome on, brother.
What an introduction. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah.
Stoked to be here, stoked to chop it up. And I'm just I'm appalled by the introduction. That was great.
Absolutely, man. You deserve it. So what you kind of popped up on the scene and are probably known best for is your views on fitness, mobility, health, all that good stuff. And I think that's probably one of the best places to start with you and pick your brain about what's kind of your 60-second or less like prescription on what you give people to live a healthy and active lifestyle. What do people need to be implementing just as a baseline?
Yeah. And I think it's developed a lot over time. Just kind of like brief, like 10-second intro, like I've just always been an athlete, had an autoimmune illness when I was 15, Graves' disease, and have now like overcome that. I don't take any of the medicine. I haven't seen my endocrinologist in years. And so really what I think those two pursuits just combine to me really understanding and having a different viewpoint of health. And I think what is kind of mainstream normalized, and one that, I repeated it a couple of times yesterday on Twitter, like everything in the human body is malleable, right? And so just like giving people everything that they need so that they can do more, because really health and fitness is just like anything, right? Investing money, whatever it is, like it's a numbers game, it's a consistency game, it's a discipline game. So giving people all of the inputs that they can start controlling, whether that's diet, whether that's lifting, whether that's their lifestyle, whether that's mobility work, whether that's training for athletics, and also just, how they think about it too, because I think your perspective shapes your outcome, and your belief shapes your outcome. So just really giving them everything that they need so that they have the tools so that they can continually do things consistently and better and do them for a long time, which will give them, all the results that they want. And I think that, a lot of people, I think that's what the messaging I kind of get back is like, they like my stuff, not just for the information, but like the energy and like, or confidence or kind of swagger, and I think that that's something that, when you have your health and fitness right, and you have all these inputs right, like you just tap into a version of who you are that is vastly superior to what you are when you don't have those things.
Yeah, that's one of the best things I've heard you say about building online is the point of this, you got into the just having an online brand, and you said that the quickest way to show depth as a person, or showing depth as a person, is the fastest and easiest way to actually build trust with people and separate yourself. And that's what you do really well. It's not just putting out the information you have. You're actually showing your personality, sprinkling in your sense of humor and all that stuff. And that's pretty much what makes you stand out so much above everybody else. Is everybody's just trying to figure out what the way to hack the algorithm is, or how they can post a certain amount of times and get the most output from it. Just being a genuine person, I think, has worked really well for you. And what's kind of been your experience with growing your personal brand, and when did you realize that it was something that you wanted to
do? So I started it maybe late 2019, 2020, and there definitely was like, I had worked for, like, for example, Knees Over Toes guy. Or one of the guys I worked for, Jared Guest, they all both had like really big audiences from the stuff that they were marketing and selling. So that was definitely like something I wanted to do, but I really started it and decided it was going to be fun is when I was just doing it for fun. I was working online, remote, doing like e-com stuff and service-based internet marketing kind of things. And I just like loved health and fitness, always have. And so really it was just like a creative outlet for me. And I think that definitely shapes my approach with it and like kind of how I formulate these things in terms of building a brand or building your persona online. Like, I don't think it should ever be building a persona online. I think you just build your persona and then you use the medium of the internet and to put it online, just for the scalability and the shareability of that. But yeah, man, it really just like kind of it started like 2020 quarantine. Like I was working online, things were doing well. E-commerce during that time, like was taking off. And so just like was working my job and I was going great. And I just like loved health and fitness. And I was just during the pandemic, like wanted to shit post with the boys and started having a lot of fun with it. And I think it was a really good creative outlet for me to continue developing my thoughts. And so that's kind of like what started it and got everything going. And then from there, it was like, damn, like this kind of works. Like, I wonder what I could do with this. And then it just kept catapulting from there. I just kept doubling down on those bets, I guess.
Was working with Jared and the e-com space, is that when you kind of got introduced to the digital economy and online space and making money online?
No. So like when I was 19 or 20, it was after, like towards the end of my sophomore semester, my first semester of my sophomore year of college. I was just like in a really weird place. And like, I was kind of hurt. I played football in college. So I was like kind of banged up, wasn't really playing that well or that much. It was just like, I don't know, it was just a weird phase. And I hated school, would like perpetually skip class, like just wasn't for me, And I started like really curating what I was looking at online and just kind of seeing some of the possibilities and seeing some of the like original drop shipping kids and their ads that they were running. And I was just like, man, like if these kids can do this, like this guy looks like a fucking dickweed. Like this kid's an idiot. If he can do this, I can 100% do something along those lines. And so even before I started like doing it for real, was interested in it. And like, even, maybe a year or two leading up to that, was like, a content consumer and just like learning and figuring stuff out and buying courses and doing that, and trying things. And like, but even when I was younger, I think like, Gen Z has the distinct advantage that I always kind of meme just because I like it. We grew up with the internet, it's like, we understand how internet culture functions. So like I probably made my first $1,000 online when I was like 13 or 14, like flipping LeBrons, So yeah, just like exposing myself to those things and knew it was like a possibility. And then I see these people that are like flexing on Instagram or like doing these things. It's like, damn, like, I don't know. And just kind of grew from there.
So you've seen kind of the potential the internet has. Like you say, it's mandatory to be posting online right now. If you've got something to say, you need to be sharing that message just for the scale and everything. Do you ever see a point 10 or 20 years down the road where you want to completely exit? Do you want to make a bunch of internet money? And I've heard Nick talk about like push that into service businesses, buying up hotels, whatever it may be. Do you ever want to go that route and eventually delete yourself from the internet?
I think it's definitely like has its attractive, like I think the roles of it will shift,
Mm-hmm.
like if you already have, $300 million, like,
right.
Like maybe that question arises, although like I really genuinely enjoy like the stuff I work on. And I think over time I'll continually enjoy that. And you mentioned that, like the post I had about it being mandatory now, like people, like one guy brought up like, oh, well, what about the Stripe brothers who, made this $70 billion company and they didn't have, but it's like, if you're going to do, like, I don't think I'll ever quit building businesses. Cause like, I just like the idea of retiring to me just doesn't even sound attractive. I just feel like I die inside, if I'm 50, like I'm always going to be doing something. And the way the world's working and trending, like, don't think the internet's going anywhere. And so no matter what I'm doing, having my presence, especially at, that point, 10, 15 years down the line, I imagine it will be something like very big at that point. And so I just don't think I would ever like stop, because it would always just help what I'm doing. And sure, there's like downsides to it. Maybe people know who you are in a weird way, you lose some privacy, but I don't know. I feel like I really don't have much to hide either. So I just don't really give a fuck either.
Do you have any trouble balancing consuming a good amount of what's going on the internet and social media and keeping up with people that you respect and still tapping into your creative side and being a producer on online as well?
No, I wouldn't say I have a trouble with it. I like at this point, I don't consume nearly as much stuff, or if I do, it's like very targeted. Like I'll buy a product for someone from someone and just like learn everything for a week and then just like go back to doing it. I try to just let my like I try not to consume as much anymore and just like let it, because I just feel like if you consume too much, it clouds your ability to foster your own creative thoughts. So like now a lot of the stuff I'll consume is like I'll read a targeted book on something that I is pertinent to what I'm doing, or like I'll try to continually learn things. And then when I get on there to like talk with people, of course, you see stuff that's happening or stuff that people are posting, but I really don't read that much on there. I just get on to like, if I'm going to be consuming other people's content, it's just like, because we're friends, or like just on there to be social and have fun and just kind of goof off, I guess.
You said some of the best creative work and mental states are in the hangover period. What's kind of some of your other hot takes with stimulants or any other substances that have kind of helped you, I guess, tap into either your creative side or just more optimal performance?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really great question. You've probably seen in my content too, like in Miami, or since I've been in South Florida, really, like kava or kratom is like big here, and I like that's super enjoyable. I have a Zen in right now as we speak. Like coffee, like just the feeling of like being real kind of lasered. I mean, it definitely helps, right? Like that's why people do it. I don't use anything like, I mean, I have like obviously taken Adderall or modafinil in the past, or maybe not obviously, I've taken it in the past. But it's a really interesting question, because you like, especially too from like the health lens, definitely not ideal. Like I think the most ideal state is probably just to be dead sober, but just like, I'm also not going to like, there's a very true thing that like I get more done if I have an espresso. Like that's just objective, you just have more bandwidth and focus, I guess. And so like, really, I look at it as, I would eventually love to not take anything at all. And I think that you could definitely can. It's just like, if you are taking something, there's a downgrade period as soon as you stop. And right now I just have so much going on that it's like, basically what I'll do is I'll have, my busier days in the week, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, like I'm going to drink a coffee, probably going to have a kratom tea, might take a Zen or two, and then like just cycling it so that I'm not like constantly strung out, stressed. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a reason that like everybody that is pushing high level, like uses these things and a lot of times tends to abuse them, is because they give you more energy. Right. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that it's like the hangover thing was just like, you get a lot of just like clarity and perspective, and you wake up the next morning and you're just like, I don't know, it's just an interesting state that removes a lot of the bullshit around what you're thinking. And I think that like anything you're going to take should be viewed as a tool. Really everything and anything should be viewed as a tool. And, I just try to use those tools in accordance with what I want to accomplish in the world and mitigate any downsides as best I can, like cycling these things. But yeah, I guess, does that answer your question?
Yeah. What's kind of your go-to method to gain clarity if you've got just too much running on your head or just need to get focused? Is it a lift? Is it just going outside and get some sun? Is it a little bit of both? Something else?
Yeah, lift, sun, really just like walking. I think it's just going outside and walking, no inputs, like just removing any stimulus. Always does it. I love to write. And so like, I'm always trying to clear out ideas from my brain so I can receive new ones. So just like writing every single idea. Like I seriously, if I have a good idea, it goes somewhere. Like the notes in my phone is a scary place. I have thousands of them. Because it's just any good thought I save, and maybe it'll be content later. Maybe it's something I implement in a business. Maybe it's just something that I was thinking to myself. Right. So really those things, I think they've all been really useful for me, just like getting out in nature, working out and just removing stimulus. And then once you remove that stimulus, either by, not consuming anything else or getting rid of all the things that are already in your head that you need to just like get out so that it can free up, some combination of all of them.
So what's kind of been your experience in Miami and moving there with the boys and kind of being surrounded by young, driven, hungry people? Like, how's that been for you, and how's it elevated you?
Dude, I love it here. It's like Miami has, it's a really interesting place, right? Like people, I think when they think of it, like obviously the weather and the beach is beautiful, and that's great. I'm a sun worshiper, so like that's a huge plus that it's beautiful out today. And most days it's like that. And I can go and super crystal clear beach, and it's just like very refreshing physically. But then there's also, like lots of pretty girls, and there's a lot of money here, and just like a lot of opportunity. It's very reflective of my values. There's also some downsides too. I think it's a very like superficial place. Just like, kind of like clout, and I think any big city kind of is. Eventually I won't be long term. When I'm 30, I don't think I'll live in Miami. That's my thought process now. But really having the echo chamber and bubble that I live in, to me, is the biggest benefit of Miami in my like daily life, bar the random miscellaneous, service worker who's in a horrible mood or something like that. Basically everyone I interact with is, shares similar values, is embodying like a very high energetic consciousness. They're doing things, they're out trying to make their sort of impact on the world in some way. And that's really, I think, like my favorite thing about it here is just the echo chamber. Like it's just really hard to not, or to, lose sight of things, or not, continue elevating when, if I go out to one of these restaurants in here, like I'm relatively poor, which would not be true in like where I'm from, you know what I mean? And so it's just like constant reinforcement of I'm not there yet, which I think is really useful. And then like all of my friends here are just like, yeah, man, I did this, made 150 grand this month. Like, what are you doing? Like, and it's just like, got to keep going, and it's just a great echo chamber, very energetic. And it's been a huge asset overall. I could probably like build more wealth living somewhere much cheaper, right? It's expensive and like all these different things. There's a lot of distractions, but I think that the inherent kind of competition that is just objectively here, it just forces me to continually put my best foot forward, whereas other places I might be a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, I feel that 100%. I moved here to Austin back in November, and I moved from the town that I grew up in. Like, I have a lot of people that I love there back home. Most of my friends and family are there, so I don't want to trash or anything, but for the most part, just kind of limited thinking, just aren't thinking as big, don't have the same ambition to go and get more. So despite moving to a city being more expensive, and you could think about, from a cash flow perspective, making more in a cheaper town or city somewhere, there's kind of a balance of time, energy, and money. And if you move to a place that gives you more energy and it motivates you to want to go and do more, it kind of pays for itself, I would say.
Yeah. Oh, 1,000,000%. And like, I know part of what you talk about is like investing and like building wealth and all this stuff. And it's just like, yeah, I could, probably like save more or stack more cash, but I also I don't think I would ever hit like the high echelons of, you know what I mean? You don't have the desire to or need to. It's like, if I was in my hometown where everything is just way cheaper, and more importantly, there's not that competitive atmosphere of like, damn, this is possible. This guy's doing this guy's doing that. Like, I can do that too. There's not as much drive. And so, yeah, to me, it way more than pays for itself, because I just don't think like the type of person you become is way more capable of creating cash flow, which then will on the back end create more wealth.
Yeah.
As long as you play your cards right.
There's something Hormozy said recently: investing in the S&P 500, basically just maxing out what you're capable of from an earning perspective. What are some of the best investments you've made? It could be time, energy, or money that have allowed you to either make more money or just perform more optimally as a person?
I mean, I think the first thing that like, and it kind of coincides with my brand really, really well, is like, I just remember super distinctly. And this is when I had a, $1,000 a month studio apartment, or something like that. And like, was not making that much money, maybe like $3,000 a month, something like that. Right. And it was just, I remember very conscious time I went to the grocery store and was just like, like I had been kind of budgeting. Like when I first dropped off, I had a very much like scarcity mindset, even though I didn't know it at the time. I thought I didn't, but I was like very like budgeting. And I think that's good to do to some extent. But there was just a day that I very distinctly remember like going into the Greenwise, which is like the Publix. Publix is like Florida's grocery store loosely. And the Greenwise is like their equivalent of Whole Foods. And I went in there and I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Like I'm going to get whatever I want. I'm going to get all the best stuff. And I don't care how much I spend. Like probably not the smartest financial decision, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I like that, I think has been ever since then, I kept doing it. And it's like, man, it's just, everything has continually grown kind of from that point. And so I think that food, like I spend a lot of money on food, and doing that has been super impactful in terms of all of the things: energy, time, ability. I definitely have invested a lot of money in like learning from other people, and that's great. And also too, just I think like environment, like I said earlier, like that's to me the biggest thing about Miami that I enjoy, or really like make me want to be here. And it's just like, it's crazy how doing that you can, like now I'm in this environment where I have access to so many people, I would probably like, I go work at a kava bar a couple times a week. And then I meet this guy and we become friends. And then lo and behold, he knows this gym owner who also has like all these guys that I can now collaborate with or network with, or like going to the nice gym. I think that too has been like, can go in and get in the fucking cold plunge every day, or get in the sauna or the eucalyptus steam and just like feel really good. And I think that across the board, like anything that you use consistently, even like clothes, like it just puts you in an energetic state of feeling good, which is kind of a prerequisite to going and then getting more, I guess, and having more blessing in your life, I guess.
Yeah. You upgrade your inputs, you're going to upgrade your outputs. You talked about upgrading the foods you're eating. I'm sure you thought better. You probably felt better, probably performed better in the gym. So that's a pretty easy upgrade, and it's always going to pay for itself in your performance. What do you kind of think about the food industry and how it's kind of working against people? What kind of advice do you have for people not falling into the trap of eating all the processed foods and foods that are there to make you sick and not really allow you to, I guess, perform your best?
Yeah. I mean, what do I think of the food industry? I mean, by and large, it's not a food industry.
Yeah.
Like it's, the same people that own the means to producing that problem for you also own the means to producing the supposed solution. So it's like, if you just look at, there's not like a small conglomeration of the corporations in this world own most of the companies that are prevalent in mainstream society. And it's just like, it's very apparent to me that the goal is not health. The goal is to make the most money possible, and then also make money on the back end with the same, sort of tie-in that they have with, the pharmaceutical industry, or doctor kickbacks, and really just like the pharma system at large. And so like, I would say if you want to avoid that, like just completely remove yourself from the food industry, if possible, at the very, like the most micro level, if you can't do it, is just like, shop the perimeter of the grocery store, just actually eat real food, like eat stuff that is an ingredient, that does not stuff that has ingredients, in general. I think like, and then from, working up your way, like eventually I would love to like own heads of cattle. and just have that for myself. Or, in the meantime, like I'll go to a farmer's market sometime and I like trust that where it's coming from. But it's just like it's feasible. It's just, not convenient, I guess, right now to do that full, like all the time. So I would just say for people, like me that maybe are in a city, for example, or they, maybe don't have the means to go acquire 100 acres and 300 head of cattle, or like whatever the thing is, like just do the most you can, eat real food, get outside, move every single day, like without question. It's just that's to me, that's like a bare minimum, and unfortunately we've gotten to a place in society where that's like not a bare minimum of actions. So I mean, the biggest thing I think you can do is just eat real food and eat animal products, and avoid grains or anything that's going to live for forever in your fridge or cabinet. That would be the easiest, simplest advice, I think.
What do you think married, having kids, like settling down Logan looks like? Do you think it's going to be going off on a farm somewhere and having cows, having an orchard, having whatever? Do you ever see that in your future?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to. I think for now, it's an interesting question. Like, kind of future casting to me is really interesting, because I have seen how exponentially less retarded I've gotten from like 21 to 23. So like, I don't want to make these like, sweeping forecasts for my future self now, when I might look back in 25 and think, damn, 23 Logan was also super retarded. So it's like, it's interesting, but I think like, that's definitely like the idea is just kind of starting to actually have and own resources and start to build my own more sovereign system of life. Would definitely, I don't know what marriage is, just like a crazy concept in my head right now that I don't even want to think about. But I think, definitely some variation of that. Definitely want to have lots of kids. Would love to own land, but it's also just so tough. Like, do I really want, like, because a lot of times when I catch myself thinking about that kind of stuff, it's like, I feel like it's also a big thing. It's like kind of a cop out too, like people that want to, like, would people still embrace the sort of, I guess, trad dream if they could be, let me think of an example, like Mark Zuckerberg. Like, do you think they would? Like, I don't think they would, because you could just do both, and so I think like definitely would like to own those resources and assets. And I think like having that is an absolute imperative, to own land, to own your own, access to food and water and nature. But yeah, it'll be really interesting to see, because I don't think I'm ever going to be able to like completely tap out of like being around a city environment, so maybe like I envision it as like having outposts that I can just go to, have the farm and it runs, and have, place in South Florida, maybe a place in Europe, place in South America, just like be very strategic. And because I think you can have it all. And that's at least the belief that I let shape my reality, is that it is possible. And as long as I do the right things, I can get there. So
my mentor, I'll have to have him on here. He's the last few months he's been in the process of having a kidney transplant. Crazy deal, dude. He's in the military with back in the day. Donated his kidney. Like, crazy fucking story. I can't wait to like have him on and talk to him about it. But he literally has that dream. He has like the farm like away from everybody. He has heads of cattle. He's ex-military, so he has like a whole like army training station with the rope walls and everything. We've gone out there and just he has like a course out there that's pretty cool. Has the home up in Jackson Hole, has a home down in Belize that he rents out throughout the year. So like just seeing what he's done, like it's something that I kind of set my sights on. And I think having a couple different like spots across the world, beachy, mountainy, the farm, whatever, I think that's like the ideal life, just from seeing what he's done and how awesome it looks in his shoes. But
absolutely, man. Florida is too flat.
Yeah,
that is the one downfall of Florida, is there is no elevation.
Right.
I kind of enjoy elevation. I like being able to hike. So yeah, it's definitely something that I want, I think, as of now.
Kind of off the cuff question. I feel like the elite and the mainstream media are always talking about overpopulation being like one of the main problems in the world. And then you have Elon, who comes on the Note Boys podcast a couple weeks ago, and he says that population collapse is like actually the bigger concern, just because I guess death rates are higher than birth rates right now. You've got Japan that's selling more adult diapers than they are baby diapers. Like, why do you think that's even something that's pushed, like overpopulation being a problem? And what do you think the agenda is like behind a message like that?
I mean, I think it's the same agenda that and all of them to me now are like very just anti-source. You know what I mean? Like fundamentally, when I say source, that could be traded for God or whatever, whatever you kind of label it as. They're anti-source or God for the reason of just control, right? If you can control where people's minds are allotted, you can have unlimited money, power, and just kind of enact your will. And that's a like crazy offshoot. And we can tap into it. I'm super happy to. But it's just like a very elaborate, in terms of like all the theoretical reasons or rationale for why it's going on, like whether these people are satanic or reptiles or God knows what they are. I mean, it's like, I don't even think it matters I don't go down, like I've read a ton of stuff. Right. I don't know. I'll tell you verbatim, I don't know what, the entity is, but I think that it's definitely just a means of control, so that, again, like the people who own the money supply, which I think is the best place to start, like thinking about the Fed and all that kind of stuff. You figure out where they're at, and they just want more of it. And so they're just going to enact that same sort of system of control upon every other, means of production or whatever going on.
What do you think about kind of the deplatforming that's happening? Andrew Tate being the most recent. Trump was probably the biggest a couple years back. Like, is that something that ever worries you as a personal brand, or really just kind of a act against freedom of speech? Like, is that something that concerns you at all?
I mean, yeah, I think it's total bullshit completely. And it's just like very apparent, like why, I'm not like super worried about it because I'm not big enough right now, I think, for it to be a concern, but like definitely have tons of beliefs that are considered wrong think per the state. So it's complete bullshit in my opinion. And and it's not even like people stand for it. Like people promote it. Like people that are against that are the vast minority. You look at all the celebrities out here calling for Tate's head, and it's just crazy to me. And I think that anyone who is for that will probably be like, they won't even care because they'll just be happy with the inherent slavery that they produce for themselves. As long as Netflix and the circus is going on, as long as you can watch the Super Bowl and like somewhat enjoy VR or whatever the fuck people do, it won't be a problem. But yeah, I mean, to me, it's just complete bullshit. I think whatever, you should be able to say whatever you want online and not be banned for it. And people will be like, oh, well, it's a private company. Like, it's just stupid. I think anyone that is against that is just, I just can't even ration with them, really. Like,
while we're talking about the mob, why do you think there's so few brain cells on TikTok? I've seen the backlash that the associates gets on TikTok. Why do you think people are so dumb over there?
I mean, dude, I just think like, well, one, it's like a very young audience, and so like, what else are they doing? They just don't have enough going on. I also think like, you outsource, like people have just especially that younger audience. I have a younger sister who's like in that age range. And not that she is, but like just that age group has now been so like Gen Z. And when I say Gen Z has a distinct advantage, that cuts off about like 19, because I think there's like a sweet spot of Zoomers that were born to rule. You know, they actually went outside and rode bikes and like played outdoors as kids, but then they grew up with the internet. And then you get into like the younger generation, and they just haven't done anything except, you know, be online, consume content. And so I think that you outsource enough of your own, you know, inner monologue long enough, you just start to lose the ability to think. And, you know, school certainly isn't provoking enough thought in these kids because they don't give a shit about that either. So it's just like, they're just people that don't have a lot going on, aren't very secure in themselves, and have nothing better to do other than, you know, professionally hate on the associates and or other people that will project thought onto the world, I guess.
Despite all the shit that's wrong with the world, what kind of gives you the most hope for humanity and society in general?
I mean, I say all this stuff, like I'm extremely optimist. Like a lot of, if you talk to, like, I have friends who, you know, obviously like believe a lot of these things, and it's very much like, you know, they're like upset by it. And I'm a perpetual optimist. I think like the same downfalls that you can attribute to, you know, maybe like the rise of the internet or like the rise of some of these nefarious systems in society. Like there's always a, just like a kind of foundational hermetic principle, like there's duality to it. And so like all of those bad things that are happening are, you know, also creating a positive. You know, as much as the internet is bad, it's also creating a class of hyper producers that now have the most effective leverage tool of all time at their disposal to do whatever they want with it. You know, it's creating people who now, you know, like for example, like the food industry now, like there would never have been, if that's not there, now there's not a hyper awareness to create something outside of that. And so I think like, you know, the water will always sort of fit its container. And I just think like, if you don't give the water a place to go, it's going to break the container. And so that in and of itself is exciting to me, that everything that's going to happen is going to, I can't wait. Like, I think the 30s in America are going to be fucking sweet. I think the kickback's the pendulum's going to swing back, and everything is just going to be like saltwater elitism for the people who use it. And I just can't wait. Like life itself just excites me, you know. There's so much to do. There's so much to see. There's just like limitless opportunity. And I think like, you know, just it's kind of abundant within the people that I put myself around. They all think similarly, like I said, just kind of living in that echo chamber. And so it's like, I mean, we could do whatever we want now. And sure, like, you know, the government or the state or the system or the cabal or whatever the hell you want to call it, like there's way more good people who just want to like do things and have families and live in the world than people who don't. And as soon as it gets bad enough for everyone to realize it, hopefully it doesn't get too crazy. And, you know, because that's obviously like an option. But yeah, man, I'm just excited about everything, really.
Yeah, I definitely believe in duality as well. Like for all the bad that happens in the world, I think there's an equal amount or probably greater amount of good out there. I think probably like a personal occurrence of that in your own life was probably like having your encounter with Graves' disease, and that led you down the rabbit hole of fitness and what it took to not go down that same path. With COVID, one of my first reactions seeing these kids having to go to school in masses, man, it's going to fuck up these kids. Like it's going to mess with their social skills. Like I was just thinking all the worst. And then I had Nidhi Saran like 2 podcasts ago, and the whole time during COVID, she's 16 years old, building out a business that's churning out tens of thousands of dollars a month at 16 years old. So there's good and bads to every side, and you can choose what side you want to be on, I think.
Yeah, man. And it was really apparent to me during COVID, because like I had thought, you know, kind of in that way for maybe a couple years. And like there was just few like market turning points, I think, in me like actually breaking outside of, you know, having a force-fed consciousness. Like when I was younger, I didn't care about anything but like playing sports and girls. Like I just really didn't give a fuck. But then like Trump election was like interesting to me. It's like, like there's just a lot of weird things that I'm being told I'm supposed to believe that like really don't make that much sense. And then like COVID was like massive gas on the fire. It's like, all right, like, and I think that anyone with some level of sentient awareness had some at least similar, and maybe they didn't have to go full on, like a lot of people say, oh, you had to have started an online business or you had to do this. Like, no, you didn't. Like it just, but they had some sort of shift in their thought process. And to me, just like that alone is a massive benefit from COVID that I think outweighs any downsides really.
Have you always had the saltwater Atlantean elitism in your veins, or was there an older, more complacent version of Logan that you had to overcome or anything like that?
I mean, I think that the only way that you can actually like say some of the things that I do in terms and like, or like if you're going to have an air of elitism, right? Like I have to enforce the harshest standard on me. You know what I mean? Otherwise, it's just like you can't even think that. And so I think like there's a lot of aspects that fed into, I guess, that whole kind of meme or ideology or whatever you want to call it. I definitely like look down upon some of the things that I used to do. You know what I mean? Just like even something as simple as like, when I was 18, fucking smoke weed and do nothing with my friends. And I look at that person now and like, he's a loser. You know what I mean? And so I think that there's it's like very multifactorial in terms of what produced that. I think there is some aspect to it that's kind of inherent that I've always had. I've always kind of been like, just like I like to think of myself as a kind, like considerate person, like not an asshole, but I also have like a tinge of just like kind of a cocky bastard. I've always kind of had that.
Quirked up, go to with the sauce.
Yeah, just like through sports and growing up in high school, and just like always kind of inherently believe strongly in myself. And then, yeah, just like a lot of the things with the way I was raised or the people that I was exposed to throughout my childhood or adolescence and now into where I am now, it just like fosters this idea that like should only accept excellence from ourselves, from others, and embody that. And it's crazy to me that people think that that's weird and would rather not have that. I don't want that. I don't know why anyone else does.
Yeah, one of the things that helped me come to terms with lazier versions of myself or past versions of myself that I just wasn't happy with what he was doing was hearing David Goggins' story back whenever he first broke out, and he was talking about being 300 whatever pounds and just being a lazy piece of shit, and how he kind of used that as his fuel to get to where he is today, hardest motherfucker alive, whatever. And you really can't look back at your past without having some sort of gratitude or some sort of just thankfulness for having those periods of life where you didn't have it all figured out or you weren't doing things that wouldn't be acceptable now. You just really can't have it and still have the good of what comes after it and overcoming it too.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm not like other than not wrestling in high school, I don't regret anything, and I think it was just like, I needed it. Otherwise it wouldn't have led me to here today, right now on this podcast. And so definitely like have a lot of gratefulness. And I think too, a lot of it, like, I mean, mostly all of it, if not all of it, or maybe I'm sure some of it's like, but there's also just like an inherent, like lighthearted, sarcastic tone that I think some of the more denser folks that may read some of the stuff I post, like, they're just like, what the fuck, and they don't understand that I'm just sarcastic a little bit in delivery by nature. But yeah, man, definitely grateful for any and all experiences that I've had. Otherwise I wouldn't be here today. And I'm very thankful for where I'm at today, I guess.
So tell me about the music, man. Is that just a creative outlet or are you putting out a mixtape or what?
There's definitely a mixtape coming at some point. It's just like I have stuff recorded that's like not bad. It's more so a creative outlet than anything. My roommate and one of my close friends was like a touring DJ and all this shit, and like a really good producer. And I've just like always liked, like I can remember like rap battling on like the track bus with some of my high school friends, or like just, it's really weird things. Like I've always just loved music. I played the guitar growing up. like it was my dad was very like foundational with that, and just like always listening to stuff he was playing. Like grew up listening to like Van Halen and Metallica and all this shit. So yeah, it's definitely will come at some point. Like right now, I'm just not going to put anything out that I don't love. And I feel like I won't love it until I feel like I've really given like a full shot to it, you know? And to me, that's like taking a month off of any and all work and just let the systems run once they're there, so that I can just do nothing else but like that, just all day, live it, breathe it, and make some heat.
There's a part of you that wants to go in on that at some point, though. Just
yeah, I'm definitely going to release something at some point, for sure. Just if nothing else, like why not? I just, you know what I mean? Like I look at everything. Like I love music, number one, and it's just fun for me. But like I look at if anyone else is doing something, like I just think about it. I'm like, okay, I could do that. They're doing it. Why couldn't I do it? You know? And so yeah, it'll definitely like it depends, I guess, on what you mean by go all into it. But definitely something that I will continue to pursue and you know, use as a creative outlet, and definitely would like to put some stuff out there at some point.
who does your edits on the videos you've been putting out?
Well, it's been like over time, it's just come from a lot of places. You know, I've had a few, my old business partner was like very good at that stuff, and so he did some of it. One of my friends who works closely with my partner Nick has done a lot of edits for me in the past. We had a full-time videographer living with us, actually. He ended up like kind of randomly quitting relatively recently. And so now we just had a meeting today with the new guy that we're bringing on, who has a whole team and like all this shit. So, I mean, I definitely like come with like I can edit video too. I just don't really have the time to like give it the attention it needs. Definitely have a lot of like input on the creative things that are happening in my videos, like kind of laying out, like I would think of myself as like a director, you know, in a movie. Like I'm not shooting the movie and like chopping it up, but I'm kind of directing it creatively. And so, yeah, it's come from a lot of places, and really, really excited to start working with our new guy. We just had like our first like real meeting today of like actionable stuff.
Yeah, they're dope, man. I was curious because I mean, you're putting out good shit. Keep doing that.
Thank you.
Are you trying to acquire any skills at the moment to help with what you're doing online?
Acquire any skills?
I mean, I feel like you've got a lot of shit down. You've got copywriting down. Like you said, you can chop up videos. Like your personality is a skill in and of itself when it comes to your personal brand. Is there anything you're trying to build right now?
Yeah, like I wouldn't say I'm like in the, you know, there's phases where I'm like deeply learning about shit. Like right now, I feel like I'm in the phase of life where like I know what needs to be done, and I just need to do it and do more of it. I would say the biggest skill that I'm like trying to acquire, and not necessarily by like taking a course or like paying someone to learn it, is just being a better leader. Because now things are growing, bringing more people in. And so it's just like a double layer of responsibility of like, I not only have to do what I'm doing, but also do it really, really well, so that it can provide enough like opportunity delta for it to provide for other people. And then also, you know, just doing whatever I can to get them the resources and support and, I guess, environment for them to thrive as well inside of it. So I would say like that's been the biggest, like everything else is just kind of on autopilot, and it's just like figuring out how to get more out of it. But yeah, just like really hammering down on my own, just like shortcomings and places where I, you know, could improve, and then like really being the best leader I can, I guess.
Well, Logan, I know I've taken up close to an hour. Can I hit you with just a couple rapid fire questions and we'll wrap it up, brother?
Yeah, I mean, I have a call at 4, but other than that, we can shoot the shit. I don't know how long you take.
Okay.
I'm in no rush.
Perfect. Well, I'll go ahead and hit you with one anyway. So if you're trying to hit a PR on a lift and you want to put some tunes in your ears to give you that extra juice to hit it, what song are you listening to right now?
Right now, I would say like I've been listening to a lot of the like leaned out Gen Z shit. So like Yeet, this summer has been like the summer of Yeet for me. I don't know if you've ever listened to Yeet or not.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm really fucking with Yeet. Historically, like any futures, just high tea. I also love like one of my it's kind of become a joke, but like Unlock It by Charlie XCX, like, you know, the super like hyper popped out like dance music I kind of enjoy. I'm also like a big like Ride the Lightning or Seek and Destroy kind of guy. Metallica. Yeah, it just kind of depends what I have a lot of range.
Yeah.
Maybe tell by the assortment of answers,
Right.
but just depends what I'm feeling that day, how pissed off I am, how geeked I am. If I'm going for a PR, probably gonna take some sort of caffeine for a PR. You know, like just why wouldn't you? But yeah, any of those options.
Has music felt stale to you almost the last year or two? Does it feel like it's dropped off a little bit?
Nobody's dropping anything good.
Yeah.
Like all the like mainstream people that I like used to listen to, like rap, like hip hop and rap is just falling off a cliff. It's either just like I don't know, man. It's either just like, and I can listen to some of it still, but it's all either just like incoherent, like genuine, like 50 IQ, like kill and murder over 808s and hi-hats, or it's like super self-deprecating and like sad boy shit. I don't know, man. And that's part of why I want to like make music, because I feel like because I love listening, especially if I'm gonna listen to like rap or hip hop. Like I would need it to be like up tempo and like kind of hard. You know what I mean? Like for example, Drake's last album, awful, horrible.
Jimmy Cooks is the only thing I liked off of that.
Yeah, and even that, like, I mean, that's solid, but you know, but it's like nothing like world changing for him. But it's just like I feel like nobody has like some up tempo swagger about them, combined with like lyrics that aren't just like awful programming and a little bit of melodic like flair to it. And so yeah, I don't know. That's part of like why I want to put shit out, because I just feel like nobody's putting out the shit that I really like fuck with heavily. I mean, obviously there's stuff that comes out here and there, but yeah, it's definitely dropped off since 2020.
Yeah. I thought you might be trying to fill a void with the music thing, because aside from like, as far as lyrics, aside from like maybe Big Sean and Larry June, people that are like really talking about manifestation, business, shit like that, like there's very few people that are really talking about shit that I really want to be like plugging into my brain. Even some shit that really goes hard, it's still some lyrics that are stuff that it doesn't make any sense to be just programming myself with.
Yeah, for sure. I think the best, like, I'm trying to think, man, I'll have to get in the catalog and check it out. Yeah, you definitely have to like view it with like, all right, like I'm going to take this with a grain of salt in my own head. Money Man, if you haven't listened to Money Man,
yeah,
is great. But yeah, there's definitely a void there. And like I used to really like Jack Harlow for that, but he's just like now like just I don't know, just getting kind of sus too. It's just like I don't know, man.
What do you think causes that? Is it just the need to have to put out an album for a label and people just rush it, or like what do you think the deal is?
Yeah, I mean, I just think like again, like to me, if you just follow money trails, it's very apparent there. Like he, you know, can't have this like as much of a, you know, kind of like braggadocious. It's just like not the message that the labels and the people who own the labels, who also, you know, own a lot of society a lot of times, like, you know what I mean? Like this conglomeration of wealth and control kind of always goes back to similar places. And I just think like, you know, they want him to be pushing like, you know, weird shower videos with Little Nas X, because that's what they want the youth to embody themselves with. And it's just like, it's not really, that's not me. That's not really what I've rock with. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like, it's just a dollar sign at the end of the day. I think like, you know, the most profitable message is the one that is probably not good for a lot of people. And so they're going to go with that. And then like, once the money starts rolling in, they're not going to do anything to upset that, you know, because their life's great. And I respect it. I mean, totally, if, you know, play the game, I guess it's not for me. But
so I didn't really know where to expect this conversation to go, and I was okay with it going some different places. But yesterday, I had a dude that I went to school with, and he posted this message, and he said that he's been gender fluid for a while, and posted a picture of him with some wigs. And I was just thinking about how fucking soft society's got. Like the good times have created weak men. Do you have any third world countries or anything that you think you'd run off to if America does in fact collapse?
I mean, I think like anyone who's pushing that message, I think should be really conscientious of what would happen if America did collapse.
Yeah.
Like, because like to me, America is the one place where that can kind of be a stalwart against these sort of things, because there's a lot of guns, a lot of people who like really genuinely believe in freedom to some extent. Like, and I could, like, been to Brazil, and like Brazil is really cool. I like it a lot. I mean, I think wherever you go, the rural and local infrastructure is going to be more important than the country itself anyway. I think like in a collapse, rural America is going to be still better than metropolitan wherever else. I think you're seeing that in Europe right now, when $10,000 a month to heat your fucking house. Yeah, I mean, and I also think too that in any of these places, if you're in a conglomeration of wealth, probably going to have a better time as well anyway. Like, so I don't like the escape fantasies. I'm prepared to go down with Florida if need be. But I mean, I definitely have like places like I would like to own a place in Europe at some point.
Yeah.
South America is been good to me so far. I like it there. Really don't have any desire to go to Asia or anything like that. Yeah, I don't know where I would say like the what the bug out plan is exactly yet.
You're from Ohio, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you miss most about back home?
I mean, I would say just like the people I care about.
Yeah.
Don't miss much else, to be super I mean, Ohio is a great place to grow up. But don't particularly miss much about it at this point, other than the people I care about and like my dogs or my family's dogs. I mean, I think the benefit to me, the biggest benefit of Ohio itself is just like the people, like there's not as much going on. So there is more of the, traditional, I guess, family oriented sort of environment. But yeah, and maybe just like Midwestern wit. That's something that's really missing. Like when you're bored, like when people are bored like that, like Miami is overstimulus all the time, right? And so I just think like you get a unique kind of there's like a unique Midwestern humor of just like, just like very witty, funny people. But yeah, I don't miss much, to be super transparent with you.
I feel that back home we have redneck humor. I'm from a town called Texarkana. It's around the edge of Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Oklahoma. So there's some weird influences there, mostly a bunch of rednecks. And the other day it was hot as shit at work, and I said it's hotter than two squirrels fucking in a wool sock. And somebody called me redneck, and I'm like, that's just good fucking redneck humor, man. I don't know what y'all are talking about. That's a good one.
You can definitely hear the Texarkana draw.
Yeah.
Y'all, I love it.
I get asked on it all the time. It just is what it is. It's just if you heard my family, like way worse than me. Like I've been citified to some degree. So I mean, I've dropped a lot of it, and I don't have people ask about it near as much, but definitely something you can't shake, man.
For sure, man. For sure.
So what are some bad recommendations you hear either in the digital economy space or in the health realm that you want to clear up, or just like some bad takes that kind of piss you off? For me, like I was in a gym last year. I just sold memberships. I wasn't a trainer or anything, but I hate hearing it runs in my family. I hate hearing that phrase, even if there is like some genetic aspect. I think a lot of that is people just doing what their parents did and doing what their parents did from a dietary and active standpoint. So what are some things that you hear either in health or in the business space that kind of grinds your gears?
That's super interesting you say that, because I like maybe a week ago wrote a thread like basically exactly saying that. Like, do you have a genetic predisposition, or like did your matrilineal heritage just get passed down the same habits, the same nutritional inputs? Like, it's just silly to me completely. It's just dumb overall. Not even silly. It's just dumb. Man, there's I don't. There's a lot of things that I maybe don't agree with, but I wouldn't say a lot of it pisses me off, just because, over the past 6 to 10 years, I've changed my own opinions on so many things, like so many things, like whether or not that's like how many times I should eat in a day, or whether or not I should fast, or whether or not I should eat carbs or not eat carbs, or vegetables and how effective they are. Like, it's my own understanding. And the more I learn, like the more I grasp nuance. And so overarchingly, whether that's fitness or anything in relation to business, or, the digital economy or anything like that. Like, I think the thing that pisses me off more than anything, or is just like really frustrating to me, is like when people are so like, and you obviously need to like make claims, right? In order to have a brand, or like messaging, or to market, or to sell, like you have to stand for something at some point. But like, it just really frustrates me when, people are like, so like, because the worst thing that anyone who wants to get healthy or fit or make money can do is nothing, right? And so I just think like a lot of the rhetoric is conducive towards people, they get fed all of these things they should never do, and they never end up trying it. You know what I mean? So I think like any message that is going to be counterproductive towards people putting time in the field, or gathering experience, to me just like pisses me off. It's like, if you're talking about business, like, oh, you can't do XYZ until you've done ABC or 1 2 3, or like, you should never lift heavy unless you've done this, that, and the other. Like, it's like, people I want everyone to play the game. I want more people to play the game. Like, to me, that is what's going to get them results if I'm giving them advice, or like what is going to create a functioning world that I want to participate in. And so I just think like there's a lot of messaging like that just rubs me the wrong way. And I also think too, like the other thing that just like irks me is people that, and it's very subjective, and I'm sure people think this about me, but there just seems like, especially in like we talked about it, maybe in the prelude or maybe on this, like, putting the cart before the horse. And it's just like, I'm 23, but I've been a nerd about all of this stuff since I was 12, and actually trained a fucking lot of people. And also, been around a lot of internet businesses or in internet businesses, or run them myself. And so I just think like people want to put the cart before the horse, and it's backwards to me, kind of rubs me the wrong way, I guess.
Yeah, I feel that. What do you think, if you could just kind of get a message out to everybody, if you just had a big billboard that would reach billions of people, what do you think the best message you have to say as far as just people just living a better life, or lifting spirits? What do you think your message would be to the world right now?
Like, if I could snap my fingers and just instill something in everyone, I think the thing that I would, a couple things. Number one is like probably ownership. Like, it's all your fault at the end, and whether or not it is your fault, it's your responsibility. And so I think just like encouraging people to take ownership, and then also, just really, and sometimes it's tough, and I'm empathetic to it, but just encouraging people to have faith. I think that has been, aside from any fucking like tactical or informational or like any of the things that allowed me to do whatever or anything that I've done, at the root of all of that was just like kind of blind belief in faith. And so I think like that gets you 60% of the way there.
Is that faith in yourself or faith in a higher power?
I mean, I don't think you can have like, I don't know, for me, it gets really hard to attribute faith in myself if I don't have faith in God. You know what I mean? Like they're kind of intertwined. So yeah, like, I don't know, like probably faith in God. But again, I think that those things are very intertwined in a lot of ways. I think that I have a really interesting kind of, I guess, outlook on, theology or religious philosophy. I'm not particularly secular, but I just think that like that is I approach it more, I guess, metaphorically or allegorically, where it's like I look at what's going on as an extension of me. I'm a part of that, and so I think it's really hard to have, or for me, like things don't make a lot of sense if I don't have that.
With you not being like really secular or anything like that, do you still pray?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I grew up in church. It's weird growing up in church and then going out in the real world and then just having all kinds of things bombard you, your own fears, doubts, uncertainties, whatever hit you. It really challenges your beliefs and kind of leaves you just hanging to figure it out on your own. What's kind of been your experience with that? Were you raised in church or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, like not super strictly. I had, a couple phases throughout my life, where I would go regularly and then we'd like stop or like change where we were going or stuff like, so I like went, but it wasn't like I wasn't fucking devout. And I think that it's really interesting. I went a couple weeks ago with one of my friends who's like really involved in his church down here. He wanted me to come, and I was just like, man, I respect it. And if people feel it's helping them, by all means, but it just like wasn't really for me, because it just like, I feel like so much of it is like also negating, like negating some ownership, I guess. And just like, there's no objectivity, like that's my big problem with church in America, at least, is like everyone will come in and it's like, God loves you the way you are, and that's great, and he does, but like you still need to change and improve and like not do the things that are bad for you, or like, I don't know, I just feel like a lot of people like you can't pray, and this is like in the scripture, can't give you the book and the verse, but like I know maybe in Matthew somewhere it's like you can't pray without works, you know what I mean? Like you still have to do things. And if you're sitting there praying all the time, like you're negating the things that you're praying for by not acting on the opportunities that are tangibly, physically in front of you to go and do. And so it's just like, I don't know. I lose my luster for it because of that. Cause it just seems like a whole lot of like, and again,
I get that.
Wholly encourage anyone that finds it helpful to go, but it's just not for me.
What kind of gives you a connection with spirituality or a higher power? Is it just prayer? Is it gratitude?
Yeah, those things. I really like just, I like it's very close to meditation, I guess, or meditative. Like I don't meditate, but I do meditative things. And so just like being alone with your thoughts or just kind of visualizing outcomes, or just, praying at night, which I'll do pretty frequently. Like, I don't know. I think just like having those conversations and having that intimate relationship with your own, awareness and inner monologue with whatever is out there is extremely beneficial. And just staking that time away to utilize that very frequently.
Do you believe in any kind of balance between the pillars of life? My second guest, Billy Croyts, he says, if you think about the different pillars of life in a wheel, you think about your physical and health, you think about mentality, spirituality, your relationships, finances. If you think of them in a wheel, you can either have a round wheel, meaning you have balance in life, or you can have a large wheel, meaning you have some sort of exceptionalism, whether you're making a lot of money, whether you have close relationships with your friends. What's kind of your take on that? Do you think there's any kind of room for balance and exceptionalism?
I mean, I think that like, if you're going to be like, to me, like those different areas of life, like you always have to have them in some capacity. You know what I mean? Like you're, no matter what you're doing, I don't care how hard of a work, like let's say you were hyper focused and exceptional at business, like your brain can only think so many hours a day. We're not robots, right? So you still, if you're doing business, you need like relationships, you need your own, sort of creative, spiritual aspect. Hopefully, dear God, you're still working out. But like, to me, all of those things are going to circle back on the one thing you're doing exceptionally anyway. And so I just look at it as like, you definitely set a priority, singular priority. But I think that how you do one thing is how you're going to do everything. And so if you're lacking in like one of those things, you're probably not as exceptional as you think you are, or could be potentially, if you were, more steadfast in your excellence elsewhere. Because I just think anytime you're doing something lackluster, it's going to rub off,
Yeah. Do you have any kind of like favorite failure of yours, or a time where things didn't go right in life, but it like set you up for success down the road?
Favorite failure. I mean, I look at my college football career.
Yeah.
I thought that was just like my whole life for a long portion of it to some extent. And I think that having and it's really interesting because like, I couldn't give you like a specific business failure, because as long as you just keep going, it's not really that much of a failure. You know what I mean? Maybe you pivot, but like if you don't quit, there's no opportunity to label anything as a failure. But I think that, like just being real with myself and, allowing myself to kind of close that chapter for myself was really pivotal to me moving on and doing some of the things that I've done, which at the time was like a really hard thing to do.
Because you had to like kind of take on a new identity, or just evaluate what that was.
Completely. Like, I had this, I played at two schools. I played at a small FCS, so like D1 AA school in Indiana, Valparaiso, for a year, and then transferred to a smaller D3 school, just like for a lot of reasons. But, I had this ego of who I thought I was, like, especially in high school, like thought I was this, big fucking superstar or whatever. Like, and I think when you lose that, like, it just forced me to kind of drop that and be very, very honest with myself and with my own effort. And just, I think, open the door to a lot of new good things.
Yeah. I think you see that with a lot of athletes, especially like in the Olympics, like people that started doing gymnastics when they were 3 and competed at a very high level from 12 to 20. And then once they had kind of gotten out of their prime, they had to figure out what their purpose was, whether it was being a mom, whether it was starting a business, whatever. What's kind of your, I know it's kind of memed or joked about on Twitter about like having any kind of interest in sports. And I remember y'all went like to a Dolphins game a week or two ago, and you're like, don't tell anybody we're here, some shit like that. I don't know what you actually said, but what's
pulling up to the Dolphins game? Yeah. Is it over for me, bro?
What's kind of your take on like being able to enjoy sports? Like, do you think it's actually a problem, people watching sports, or do you think it's just how deep people get into it? What's kind of your take as somebody who's played it, watched it, gone outside and inside?
My take on it is, I have no problem. I don't care what anyone does, really, unless it affects me,
right?
Or degrades society completely. My take on it is that, like, I have no problem if you want to, be a football aholic, right? Like, I think it's great that people have interest. My problem with it becomes like this culture where people would rather like just displace their entire person into someone else. Like, I think it's totally fine to fucking spend your entire weekends watching football, but like, get in the game a little bit. Like, how can you just spectate your entire life, right? If you're gonna do that, go fucking, coach football, coach your son's team, go play in a flag league yourself, maybe monetize your interests. Like, I just don't know how, like, I can't sit and do anything that's not fucking interactive. I physically can't do it. Like, it's super hard for me to just sit and watch a movie unless it's good. But even then, I'm like appreciating the cinema and like learning from it, kind of, you know what I mean? Like, I just can't sit and watch TV. Like if I'm going to watch TV, I want it to be reflective of something that I'm going to go and do myself. Cause I don't like to watch. I like to play, you know? And I just don't, that's my take on it. I don't know how people like just fucking enjoy watching other people do shit all the time, no matter what it is. So,
Do you think,
yeah.
do you, I love that. Do you think there's any way to wake up all the NPCs there are out there, all the people that are just spectators, not being the main character in their own life? Or do you think it's just, you can lead a horse to drink? Yeah.
It's just completely remove all the comfort out of their life. Or like, if you're going to wake up all of them, yeah, I mean, and I don't think that'll ever come, you know, like people have just outsourced their agency to the state to a point where even if we collapse, what's going to happen? They're just going to get UBI and they'll have DoorDash, and there will be some new sweet VR plug-in to the meta that they can experience all their favorite shows in whatever reality that interface is as. So I don't think there is a way, to be honest. I think we're at the point now where the machine has grown big enough where there will be people that can't save. And to be honest, I don't really care to. I just like, you can't make people want things, you know? The best you can do is, I guess, just do what you think is right and lead by example. And if that's persuasive, then great. But yeah, I mean, I think maybe some sort of big collapse would shock people out of that, but I don't know. I mean, also a lot of these things, I think like sometimes there's like life plays out the way it's supposed to, you know? And I think we a lot of times get what we deserve. And so, you know, who am I to say that that's not a good life for someone else?
Yeah.
I guess I can't. Not for me though. That's for fucking damn sure.
And also Darwinism. I mean, you've got people that are either getting a sex change and then they're taken completely out of the potential to have any kind of offspring. You've got people that are so like plugged out of life that they're plugged into a video game, plugged into whatever TV show, and they aren't going out and finding somebody to reproduce with. So they just aren't having kids. So, I mean, I think naturally Darwinism is just going to kind of take care of a lot of it. The people that are the higher achievers, the people that want more out of life, they're going to be the people that are continuing the gene pool and keeping the thing running anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I think like ideology, like dysgenic ideology leads to dysgenic life. You know what I mean? So it's just like, it's very apparent, you know, who wins over a longer scale based on that alone. And yeah, it kind of removes a lot of the people that are doing these things from the gene pool anyway. So I just think it was like, it's very fitting and ironic, I guess, that like dysgenic anti-God or source ideology would lead to the abortment of life itself. Yeah, I guess it kind of strings home the point of, do we get what we create for ourselves? That's kind of how I think about like I don't think we ever really die. You know, I think heaven and hell are just like metaphors for the reality that your soul will inherit upon leaving this physical body. It's kind of my loose belief. And so I just think like, yeah, it's going to manifest in that way, however it does.
If reincarnation's real, who do you think you were in a past life?
Well, I don't know. This is just basically my intuitive schizo collection of ideas that I've read and fostered together. I think it definitely travels throughout your family too. I don't know, like I definitely was like somewhere on the Scythian plain, like a nomadic horseman in Eurasia or Hyperborea, just like pillaging shit for sure. I also would like to think, but that's even like cowboys are too far back, you know, like
yeah.
I can trace my actual family to see. I would have liked to have been one of those, but I think I don't know, like maybe something like that. Like that's what I think of as like just the prehistoric Eurasian plains, just like riding horses and bows and arrows and shit.
I have Indian on both sides of my family, Cherokee Indian. And 2 nights ago, I had this weird ass dream where I don't remember what he was, if he was a cousin or somebody that was related to my grandpa. He's like, hey, you got to learn these rituals. I don't know when you're going to need them, but you're going to need them soon. And it was the weirdest fucking trippiest dream I've ever had. He showed me like all this. I don't remember like actually picking anything up, but he showed me some book with all these like old Indian rituals and shit. It was the weirdest thing. Do you have any, do you have any wild ass dreams like that like still stick with you?
Dreams, not dreams. I will say I did have one like really cool mushroom trip where it was like I became like an Egyptian pharaoh. You know, it was like Florida summer. I was just like super tan. I had like a bunch of like gold chains on, and just like I was looking at myself in the mirror, and it flipped around, and then I was like the pharaoh, and it was really cool. That kind of stuck with me a little bit, but yeah, I can't think of any like crazy dreams like that are memorable or recurring or something like that.
Psychedelics are fucking wild. I've had some monstrous experiences. The reason I'm even in Austin is because we had a bachelor party here, and we all did acid, and I had such an experience here that I'm like, I think I need to fucking move here for a couple of years. And I moved here like 6 months later, like after my wedding. What other experiences have you had, or what does it kind of open your mind up to doing substances like that?
Yeah, I mean, I like now I think I'm at a point where I'm like maybe not the biggest proponent. It's been really helpful for me, honestly, but I also am very weary of it because I see people that like go down that way. Like it's just like, man, nobody that does psychedelics long term like, turns out the way that I want to be. You know, they just don't. It was very impactful for me to just like get some perspective and realize like what beliefs was I harboring that weren't useful, and kind of break outside of that. And it just fills you with a kind of like kind of omega consciousness, like very loving. It definitely like strengthened my relationship with God. But so yeah, I mean, all in all, it was super helpful, but it's also not something that I have at least at this point in my life, like any big desire to do more of. I just think that a lot of the people that do psychedelics, like they like it gives you kind of these delusions of grandeur about yourself. And I think a lot of people never go and act on them. And I'm at the point where now like I've had all the delusions of grandeur. I've had like those perspective shifts. And now I just want to actually like make things real. And you can't really do that in like this hippie, all loving like place. It just doesn't happen. People always talk about like ego death, or like I don't want my ego to die. I fucking love my ego. I want to integrate that bitch and eat him and use him, like it's I don't know.
So what are those maybe not those delusions in particular, but what are you most excited about in your own life right now that you're working on? Is it Untapped Athlete? Is it Launch Socials?
Both of them for sure. Like I don't know. I think Launch Socials has the capacity to be a bigger company just because people value money more. That's just a fact. But Untapped is, kind of what I culminate as a somewhat of a life's work, just like in learning all these things and making it better and improving it. So I'm super excited about both of them, honestly, and just like continuing to grow them and grow as a person. I'm just excited to keep playing the game. There's just so many things to do. Getting ready to do a bunch of travel.
Where you headed?
Going to Tampa this weekend, Vegas the following weekend, and then right after Vegas, LA, San Diego.
Business or pleasure?
Always a mix of both.
Yeah.
We'll film some podcasts for the associates while we're on the road. Have some cool guests coming on. But yeah, I'm just excited about everything, really. Why would you not be excited about everything?
Exactly.
How could you not be excited about everything? There's so much to do.
How have you liked the podcast? And I've liked the different episodes. Y'all had a bunch of just wild different topics, and I've liked y'all having other guests on. How have you liked doing the podcast?
Yeah, man, it's been really fun. I think that like just doing stuff like these or stuff like this, I'm sure you've noticed it too. Like it just forces you to articulate your thoughts more concisely. And I think that helps you learn a lot, like in a really weird way. Maybe not a weird way, but it helps you learn a lot about yourself and what you think and what's going on. And so it's just been fun to do that. And obviously, if I can kick the bee's nest a little bit, I always enjoy that. And so, yeah, just like it's growing too, it's almost monetized on YouTube, which it's been like 3 months. So yeah, just like I'm just excited about everything, man.
Yeah.
Just ready to keep fucking conquering things as much as I can.
Well, Logan, I've taken enough of your time, man. I've enjoyed having you, man. Love what you're putting out. Can you tell people a little bit about anything you want to put out, anything you want to plug?
Yeah, I mean, if you want the absolute, I think, best perspective and information and like framework for health and fitness, untappedathlete.com. And then my other company, Launch Socials, like we're really helping a lot of people grow their brand, figure out how to do things the right way, set up, businesses off of, a skill or knowledge or service they provide, with launchsocials.co. Got both of those. I got some Goated with the Sauce tees coming out within like a week or two, probably.
That happened quick.
Fits, it's FITSX fits, FITZ.com. And then you can just obviously follow me for updates on any of those things at LOGFITZ6 on any social media.
Hell yeah, man. I hope I put a few people onto Log Fit 6, man. Like I said, been following for a while, man. Love the message, love the energy. Very few people as quirked out as you, man. And I just appreciate what the fuck you're doing, man.
Yeah, man. I super appreciate it. And hopefully likewise, can get the Wealth Homie, what is it? Paper and Purpose
podcast, man.
Paper and Purpose podcast out to some more eyeballs. Really great questions. This was one of the more fun podcasts I've done. So,
I didn't know where it was going to go. Just had some random ass shit I want to talk about. And I appreciate you playing well with it, man.
Well, cool, man. Yeah, it was a pleasure. And have a great rest of your day.
Take care, brother.